Hello, welcome to Tifo IRL. I am JJ Bull, and in this video, we're going to look at Aston Villa and the enormous 100 million macaroni-shaped hole that Jack Grealish has left by leaving for Manchester City. So we're going to look at a few things. First of all, what it's going to look like. I mean, what do they lose in losing Jack Grealish? What does that mean for Aston Villa? How are they going to replace him? And whether there's any sort of wonder kids coming through from the shadows that might come and make them much better. And to do that, far better than just having me, I've enlisted the help of Gregg Evans, or as he likes to be called, the Athletics Aston Villa correspondent, Gregg Evans. He's going to tell us a lot more about Aston Villa bits and pieces. Here's Greg now.
Yeah, it feels like Aston Villa have lost a little bit of everything in Jack Grealish, hasn't it? I mean, Aston Villa supporters, they classed him as one of their own, so every time he was on the pitch, they just connected with him, and he brought that little bit of excitement, didn't he? Whenever he got on the ball, he would drive forward, and he was their chief creator, Aston Villa, and he got lots of assists and actually quite a lot of goals in the end. And the best thing for me was that his teammates used to turn to him for inspiration. Now, he was never one of these vocal leaders, but he was somebody that would lead by example with his performances on the pitch, so Villa will miss that a lot this season.
So Aston Villa also, somewhat obviously, lose quite a lot tactically and statistically as well. And I have some nerdy numbers for you. So over the last two seasons, Grealish essentially has given Aston Villa 14 Premier League goals and 16 assists, which is obviously hugely important. And they have to find a way to cover that. But it's not just the goals and assists, it's all the other stuff that he brings to them. For example, last season in the league, Grealish created 70 chances in open play. The only player in the entire league to create more chances in open play was Bruno Fernandes. And you kind of see how important that then is. But even more than that is that Grealish is the most fouled player in the Premier League by a mile. Last season, he won 110 fouls. And that is relevant because it's the most of any player in the league. But also, it means that Villa have a way to get out from the back. So when they were trying to get out of tricky situations in the last couple of seasons, give the ball to Jack Grealish, he can run with it, draw a foul, and they can reset from there. It also led them to win free kicks in dangerous positions, and that's particularly useful because 11 goals, or 20% of Villa's total scored last season, were from set pieces. Doesn't necessarily mean free kicks, but they're good at set pieces, and so being able to win more of them gives them a big advantage, especially when you consider how important set pieces are just in football generally. But also, when you look at how Villa played last season, everything went through Grealish. You look at their attacking sides, the left side, 44% of play, all through Grealish, because he would play as a 10 or as 11. So if you imagine he's El Ghazi, Grealish could play on the left as a winger, he could play as an 8 in the midfield, and he can play as a 10 behind the striker. So in losing Grealish, they lose kind of basically 3 players in one, and their most creative player, and one of the only ways they were able to get out of danger. So yeah, that's one thing that they do. So they should probably look at how they're going to replace him next.
Yeah, so I think it's quite hard to specifically replace Jack Grealish just because he's such a good individual player. Now, I've written in many stories already that I don't think Villa will actually have a direct replacement for him. I think what they've tried to do is buy a couple of different players that will bring different things to the game. Obviously, Emi Buendia was fantastic for Norwich. We know that he can do it in the Premier League because he's done it already. He won't play necessarily in Jack Grealish's position because he likes to come in slightly off the right and more into the middle. Anwar El Ghazi often gets a little bit of criticism from Villa fans, but if you look at his goal output over recent years, he's come up with some really important strikes. So the onus will be on him now to turn up a little bit more and start putting in the performances that we know he can. There are plenty of other options that Villa can turn to. They've obviously signed Leon Bailey. We won't see him immediately because of his time at the Olympics, but we know that he had a great season last season for Bayer Leverkusen. A left-footed player that can play on both wings. Kind of in Kai Havertz's shadows, wasn't he, when he was at Bayer Leverkusen for those first few years. But since Havertz left to Chelsea, he was put out onto the right side of midfield and shone there last season. So I'm really excited to see what these guys can do for Villa. I feel that with obviously Danny Ings there as well, he can offer a few more alternatives and give Dean Smith the option of potentially playing 2 up front. The one thing that Dean Smith highlighted at the back end of last season was that Villa tended to give the ball away a little bit too often in the attacking areas when Jack Grealish wasn't on the pitch. Now, that's part of the reason why they signed Leon Bailey. If you look at his dribbling attributes, he rarely gives the ball away. His ball retention levels are pretty amazing. So he will help Villa keep possession for longer in the attacking third. The ball won't break down as often when he's on the pitch because he's very good at maintaining possession. And Emi Buendia brings something slightly different because he will press from the front a little bit more. And Smith pretty much said all along that he wants his number 10 to be in that mould, somebody who will press defenders all the time. And Ross Barkley didn't really do that for Villa last season when he was on loan.
So as Greg was saying, Dean Smith is looking to change things up a little bit this season. He wants to have more variety in the way of Aston Villa play, because last season they were always a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1, kind of predictable. And also because he doesn't have Jack Grealish anymore, so he has to change. Now, we've been through the team already largely with Greg, but a couple of bits. Target and Cash are great fullbacks, and they produce chances, and they get right up and down the pitch, so they can get width from there. So these wide midfielders, Buendia and El Ghazi, can definitely come inside the pitch. And it'll look a little bit like, if you remember Leicester when they won the league, you can have Ings and Watkins kind of dovetailing off each other at the top. Maybe one's here like this, Ings slightly further behind. And Buendia will come in from the right side to attack these spaces here. And then he'll be able to make he's best at creating. His numbers are amazing. And he'll be looking to make through balls and slip in players, like get Ings into here, or get Watkins into this sort of positions here. So Buendia will be able to move into this side here. And of course, if Buendia moves off the right wing, you need to cover the right wing to give you width. And that's when Cash comes up. And Cash can come and support from this sort of positions like this. El Ghazi can get forward as well. He's always a winger left or right. And then McGinn making his box-to-box runs to support. Target can overlap if he needs to. But they've got this very secure midfield. The box midfield, McGinn, the can back onto Mings, and the forward line here. They could also play just a straight 4-3-3 if they want to, which again will adjust depending on how they're playing. So we'll put them all back in, put Ings here, Buendia here. Now Buendia is basically a 10, and that's where he played for Norwich. But he also played a lot for Norwich off of the right here. So if we put Buendia in this position here, Ings here, Watkins, that's a 4-3-3. El Ghazi is a winger. He's not really a midfielder. So this is where we're looking at whether Aston Villa want to bring in another midfielder or who they could put into this sort of situation. At the moment, from what they've got, Douglas Luiz is most obvious. I'm putting McGinn here, like that as a 6. And then Watkins, when they attack, when they get up the pitch, Ings stays through the middle. Buendia comes inside to do the things he does off the right wing. Watkins can play as another striker. So again, left wing to start, but moves in to become another striker. And then you keep your width from that target getting up. It's really well balanced. And again, to give them a bit of variation, another thing they can do is play a back 3. This is something they can definitely have in their locker this season. And we do that by taking out a midfielder, Douglas Luiz, get the hell out of there. And we bring in Chukwuemeka, who can play, this might not be the exact layout of the back 3, but you put these back 3 here. Now you've got wing backs to give you width, and then you can play maybe Watkins and Ings as a 2, Buendia behind them, and that's your option. Eventually, Bailey will come into the mix, and Bailey is a winger who can play either on the right or left. Doesn't want to play just now, he wants to hide there because he's learning his trade. He's learning to get ready for Villa. We can't bring him on the pitch yet, but he will play very much on this right wing, which is what he did for Leverkusen, if Buendia can't play. But also, if you can't play both Ings and Watkins, you want to have just one, Bailey will play on that left side, and he'll give, as Greg was saying, he'll give you that ball progression, keep the ball really well in the other opposition's half, and just drive them up the pitch. He's great at progressive carries. He was linked with all sorts of clubs back in the day. He was a real high value transfer prospect, thought of as like a wonder kid. Hasn't quite worked out for him as much as you might have thought it would a few years ago, but he's going to be a great signing for Villa. And yeah, it looks like they might be in a really good shape ahead of the new season.
Yeah, I think the onus will be on Emi Buendia to step up because we know what he can do in the Premier League. He's done that for Norwich already. I think some of the younger players coming through at Villa are really exciting. Jadon Philogene-Bidace has probably had the best pre-season of any player at Villa this season. He chipped in with a couple of goals and assists, so we're looking forward to seeing him getting involved. Carney Chukwuemeka as well is somebody I've written about quite a lot in The Athletic. Still only 17 years old, and bases himself on Kaka. You know, he grew up watching AC Milan and really liking Kaka as a player. He was one of the star players in Villa's youth team. Win last season and likes to play in that sort of attacking number 10 role. So again, another one we're really excited about. And hopefully we'll see a little bit more from Anwar El Ghazi this season, because he will be the guy that will be playing on the left side of midfield, pretty much where Jack Grealish played all of his football for Villa. We know that he can score lots of goals from penalties, but hopefully he can contribute a little bit more around the edges as well. And a lot of Aston Villa's attacking transfers have already been done. It feels like they've put together the majority of their team now. Dean Smith's still looking for a holding midfielder. We know that James Ward-Prowse is a player that he's interested in. Villa have already bid £25 million for him, but Southampton are just not interested in selling him. So it'd be very hard to see that one getting over the line. If Smith could get in another defensive midfield alternative ahead of him, then he'd like to, but it might be something that's rolling into the next transfer window. So it feels like Villa have already signed 5 players. Obviously Ashley Young and Axel Tuanzebe are there too, so it looks like they've pretty much put most of their squad together already. Yeah, a lot of Villa fans are feeling a little bit concerned, obviously, with Jack Grealish departing, but I actually think it's going to be a really exciting season for Villa, because they've brought in new players, different types of players. You've now got the options of Danny Ings playing up front with Ollie Watkins. And I just think we'll be able to see some of the other players thrive a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to getting back down to Villa Park, hopefully with a full house every game. And it feels like it's going to be an exciting season. Let's not try and get too excited and too carried away yet, because breaking into those European positions is now going to be the hardest thing for Villa. But I'm very confident that they've got a team and a squad good enough to finish in mid-table at least.
And that is Aston Villa. That's how they're trying to deal with this loss of Jack Grealish, the captain, their hero. He's a lovely boy and a great player. So yeah, it's going to be different this season, but it looks like it all should be good. And if you'd like to know more about them and other teams just like this all the way throughout the season, well, why not subscribe to this channel right now? It's Tifo IRL. We'd love to have you back, and you can watch all our videos and say hello to all of the people. Have a lovely time.